Hello and welcome to Ideas with Diana, episode 616, part 2. This is the follow-up to a link that I put on for episode 616 prologue of the documentary on RT called Directed by Neural Network. As you can see in my background screen, that shows a little bit of it. I'll show a clip later in this presentation, but I'm wearing my hat today because in honor of the director. I didn't have a director's hat, so this is my hat that I wear for important things and stuff like that, though. And also, it's a hat that I like to wear for doing other things too, and that though. So I'm just trying to align the camera here a little bit. There we go. When we think of this directed by AI. It's a little bit like I was amazed to see all the progress being made. For example, at one point where the inventor, entrepreneur, 13-year-old Eldar Kudashev is showing a mentor, an elder professor, the Skull program that translates a request into code that can be used by a neural network to do a task. Amazing, a neural network compiler. I didn't think about that, but that inspired me actually to make my own, which I'm going to do in the next few days for my KAN 20 and 30 series neural network programs, KANN, which stands for Konecki Artificial Neural Network, which is what I developed in the 1980s prior to developing intelligent thinking systems and jump starting, using that to bootstart to intelligent thinking systems, which I'll show later. Also, when I liked that, basically it showed more than just the technology. It showed the person, because when I think of myself at age 13, it's amazing how I dressed the same way. I was very shy. Actually, even until my 20s, when I used to go on dates, actually the girls would have to ask me out on dates rather than me, which is different from Midwestern U.S. custom back then, where the guys had to ask people out for dates. Now I've transitioned many years ago from to Diana. I was diagnosed as being transgender at age 11, but I held off the decision because when talking with my parents, we made agreement because of many factors: the society I lived in the Midwest at that time, the job I was in. Also about basically having my mother be prepared when I did do the transition. When I did do the transition, that was interesting. My mother said, "I wish you would have transitioned early so I wouldn't have to go through so much heartache and agony that you went through." So she did, eventually, my mother did support it. Not all family members do, but some do. But what I like to say about about showing the inventor, it reminds me very much of myself. Very much studious, shy. Except at that time, when I was 13, I used a programmable calculator, an SR56 and a TI-58, rather than a tablet or Android tablet, and wrote in TI machine code rather than C. Compared to today, where I write in C++ for Arduino projects, and Lazarus and Delphi for my AI and cognitive science projects, and that, as well as Java. In addition, I liked it that the inventor was able to meet with other students that worked with the older professor, because the professor did remind me of 4 professors I had at University of Wisconsin Parkside and Kenosha, Wisconsin, United States, who were very supportive of what I did. And some were in the sciences. One was an art professor. Two were biology. One was engineering. And as interesting, basically, because I actually came out to my art professor and my English professor first about my transition to come out, and then later to an engineering professor, Professor Goldsberg, on that though. But basically, what I liked is it showed the human side of the series too, about how when they were playing chess, how he was advising them as to some better moves in chess as he was learning to play chess with him. You could tell the professor was very much also a chess master, in addition to being a good elder mentor professor like that. Well, let me know. I'm going to add more to the program, and just and plus some demonstrations, and let's go on with ideas with Diana. Welcome to part 2 with Ideas with Diana, episode 16. In the second part, I'd like to talk a little bit of the background and theory of ITS as to how I applied it as to a neural-mind link interface. At the time that I was doing the research, I didn't have the ability to do biological research per se, because I was in medical school and I didn't have access to doing animal studies. So what I did was I did the next best thing. Being a simulationist, I decided, well, how's the easiest way how to simulate cognitive function, using the computer to simulate a brain. And part of my thing for doing this is that in pre-med, Professor Wallen taught from the book Human Physiology, written by Stuart Ira Fox. This is a later edition. So what happens though is, in this book, he actually the author of the text discusses human physiology as well as as well as providing the biophysics. So let me just give an example here. Let's see. Whoops, did I go past it? Just a minute. Almost there. There we go. Now, let's see if I can do this here. You can see a little bit of how this in, and this is what I use to model ITS, because I sort of use the brain as the program, the spinal cord as where the ganglia, and then the receptor as the actuator. Now, to simplify this, I made a sketch, and I made it multilingual, just to demonstrate some skills. This is the sketch here. And as you see from the sketch, you can see the neuron, the ganglia, and also you can see the routines I mentioned, waiting to make move, and waiting to get options and make move. From this, and you can see the multilingual aspects in English and Russian. I could have put French, but I just wanted to demonstrate. Today it is important to be multilingual. So this was part of how to do the actual decision unit for different ganglia. Then finally, when I did the neurotransmission unit, this is the idea that I used for the brain, as you can see. Basically, so the main brain down the spinal cord, and then finally to an actuator. The reason why I did it this way is because I believe that sometimes the best way to simulate something is to emulate nature, is something that Leonardo da Vinci believed in as well as others. And when I looked at the series from the SBER AI Institute, I was impressed by what I saw in the documentary. Also, I like to issue an invitation. I'm going to show 2 programs of mine, ITS. I use chess as the study because that way I can study different types of people and their interactions. So I like to open a challenge. In the documentary, it's mentioned that they had a challenge with an American university years ago with their chess program. Well, I like to offer a challenge which is 2-part. First, a challenge with my ITS 40 chess program, which is with their chess pro, and then with my ITS 61 program, which is a 3-dimensional chess program that uses 2 sets of pieces on 3 different levels. And to add a little interesting to it, a standard setup and a user developed setup for both parties. And what I like to propose is that basically What about doing either a modified six game match, or 12, or full 12 game match, running all 12 games all the way through? Um, the best way to reach me is on Twitter at Diana1A, or well, X, formerly Twitter, at Diana1A. Well, to those at the SBER, let me know what you think, because I think an online tournament, I think that'd be a fun thing to do. And now I'll show you some of the programs and give a narration as to how they work, just to show you some of my background on how I developed my advanced AI, as well as how AI can be used in production planning. On the production planning program I'm showing you is one that my dad developed in 1969 when he was working at an automotive, as a head of research and development at an automotive manufacturer, to help optimize worldwide production. And this was written in Fortran. The code is still maintained in Fortran, and also I've updated over the years to add virtual memory, because in the 80s, when we didn't have access to a corporate mainframe, I updated so it could run on an Osmo One using virtual memory of the disk, so we could run large batches. Again, this program was developed, the production planning program I-20 was developed by my dad, and I've maintained it, and also I've maintained it because it was one of the first programs where I actually could apply new ideas in computer science, as virtual memory paging, dynamic paging, and virtualization. Well, now I'll show you the next part, which is a demonstration of some of the programs along with narration. Oh, something I forgot in the last part to mention, though, which is when I originally started chess. This was a book my dad bought for me when I was 7 years old. 200 mine openings and a fianchetto openings. And what happened was, the reason why I like this is this gave a lot of things about with the commentary, as well as the book, as well the moves, and it helped me become a very good chess player, and close to grandmaster level, and even grandmaster level in junior high school among my peers in high school. So when I studied chess, I had this book, and also I studied the strategies of Robert Fischer and Boris Spassky when they played in 1972 and 1992. With my ITS, I was able to actually develop a strategy and actually determine the neural profile and neurocognitive signaling that was used as to how they made the decisions, as to think about it as an EEG, electroencephalogram. I was able to develop a model that would simulate sort of like the electroencephalogram of the 8 ganglia that ITS used to make a move. So an electroencephalogram simulation is very much, let's go back again. It is very much like this neural diagram, except what happens is with the ITS EEG electroencephalogram simulation, when I did a simulation of Boris Spassky playing white and Robert Fischer playing black, and I demonstrated at a conference, the biggest thing everyone was surprised at is basically, well, first, Boris Spassky did a traditional King's Indian defense pawn to King 4. But when it came to Fischer's move, normally what happens, it did the classical Fischer first move that many people who study Bobby Fischer know, which is knight to king's bishop 3, and everyone went and gasped and said, "Well, wait, did you put that in a database?" I said, "No, there's no database. It's just a series of signals with ITS simulation of electroencephalogram using the ITS ganglia model. So there's nothing that says do this move. What the computer does is it senses. It takes it's just like in the documentary that showed on RT, where the one entrepreneur was 13 was playing, and he was sensing what to do on the chessboard, and then the elder professor was sort of mentoring what to do, and that was the basis that I used in '86 to develop ITS. Was I thought, well, the way we solve things is we solve things by sensation. We don't solve things by database. When we play chess, each time we make a move, we don't open and go, well, okay, let's see. This person made bishop to queen three. Well, according to the book, I need to do pawn to queen knight three. Well, come on, no one thinks on a database like this. Or no one goes, well, okay, well, someone did pawn to king five, so I should do an exchange, pawn takes pawn. No, you sense, you figure, you work with what you have, you work with the environment that you're in, and you sense. So let's take a look at some of the first programs that I used to develop ITS. This is the the Kaneki Artificial Neural Network program, KAN36, which is an analog neural network, which will show the solving of an XOR network, and also the Logic 16 plausible Aristotelian logic solver. So let's take a look at that. In this next discussion, I'm going to show the ITS programs that I developed. One is ITS 50, which is a version of ITS 40. It uses the traditional chess game, except there's a little bit of a difference. So what happens is, think of it as a chess game where you have the pieces move, but they come upon a wall. They can't go through this wall, but they can exert their special chess piece power. Like they can shoot a special, like sort of like think of it as a fantasy movie. Like the knight can actually shoot the capture lay to go past this wall and capture a piece over here or capture a piece over here. Or the knight can use its movement to go around. So what happens, and what I did with the pawn is just to make it, the pawn can actually move en passant without using en passant to go around this. So I used it to simulate a two-dimensional barrier for a version of the ITS 40, which I call CAH3. And for ITS 61, I used a three-dimensional model. And what happened was, so basically you have three dimensions. You have 1, 2, and 3. So what happens, if you can imagine a knight could go like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that. So you and think about that for every other piece projected in 3 dimensions. as I do this, I'll give a narration. Part of the thing when you look at the running of the simulations, you'll see that there's also a flashing piece which shows the pieces flash when they're under attack. And in both simulations, you'll see a red and blue team. The red team is I associate with the white pieces, and the blue team with the black pieces. The reason why is because when I play chess, I actually prefer when I have my choice of color. Like Robert Fish, I prefer to play the black pieces when I have my choice of color. Well, let's go and take a look at the demonstration. Now, after looking at the demonstrations, I have developed other advanced artificial intelligence software starting originally from the late 80s and even during the 70s with TI calculators, and also using mainframes as a PDP-11 and GE635, and even at one time using an IBM 3080, because I had with my neural network simulation, my KAAN. It used to take 12 hours to run a simulation on my Osborne 1, and I was wondering, well, I wanted to see the advantage of a mainframe. So what I did is I converted it from Pascal to PL1, and then using the CMS operating system, I was able to use the indirect file pointers to run it. And I ran it. When I ran it, the one person in the IBM shop at the campus, she was surprised. She said, "Well, God," she says, "that's an advanced programming language." She said, "God, you solved this, and the IBM mainframe took 30 seconds to solve this." I said, "Wow, wonderful." She said, "Wow." She said, "Look, can I have part of the output to show my friends, and a little bit of the PL code?" So we shared code, and we had a dinner together and stuff like that. But it was fun. It was fun, and she was nice that she let me do it, because sometimes at some universities they're rather strict about that. Well, the whole thing of why I made this presentation is I want to show some things that can be done with ITS, and also with current artificial intelligence, that simulation of cognition is something that many of us have done, and like in the current documentary on RT that showed another branch in the simulation of cognition. Um, and what I do think is with artificial intelligence, there are concerns, because just like what happened with the American auto industry, I was partially raised in Kenosha, and for many years, the backbone of Kenosha was American Motors, the Javelin, the Matador, the Gremlin, the Pacer. A good friend of mine still has a '79 Pacer that he drives. And when the automotive industry changed, that was the first devastation that occurred in '88. But the second devastation that occurred was NAFTA, when we didn't fully prepare our industries, because that's when we seen in Milwaukee took a big hit. Many manufacturers closed up, and there's many abandoned manufacturing buildings where they when they were in the prime, they had progressive policies. Like many times, people um, that graduated from high school, they didn't have to worry about getting a job, because a lot of times the person would stand outside the door if he saw someone walking during the time that people. He said, "Well, look, do you want a job?" And the guy would say, "Yeah." So what do you? He says, "Well, here. How about working out? Well, I'm not sure how to do it. We'll train you. What about the stuff? Oh, we'll give you the shoes, the jumpsuit, the goggles, full health insurance." Exactly what Amazon does today when they hire people. Full health insurance the first day, full benefits the first day. They used to do that too, during when we used to make cars in the Midwest. So the point with AI, though, is if we are going to when AI is going to be used, it's going to be used more, and it has been used for many years. It's just more people are becoming aware about it as to the things. Because those of us in computer science use reverse compilers, and others have used AI. However, when we do use technology and people are displaced, people do have to live, they do have to eat, they do have to have families. We just can't say, "Well, sorry, you didn't make the cut. We're going to do the draconian thing and throw you to the wind." No, no, this is not the law of the jungle. We're not. We're supposed to be above the law of the jungle, and we're supposed to take care of people. So, my thought is, um, we like I agree with the documentary. We don't stop the technology, we don't stop the development, but we do have to plan ahead to take care of a growing population, and not to throw people to the wind or throw people out to the wolves. Well, let me know what you think. I'm on X, formerly Twitter, Diana18, and also I'm on Facebook, Diana.kkay.2017. So let me know what you think. And this has been Ideas with Diana, episode 616, August 18th, 2023.